Yes, welcome to the first UX Sync of the new year. Most of these are just sort of like curious thoughts. I think we're about to hit next milestone and coming off of vacation, so I was just trying to throw some discussion things out there. One of them was capacity. I know will be sort of reduced on the UX side. And so I wanted to know if there was things that we could help out on to make sure they're wrapped up before out of offices and other things again. And then the other one is like, do we have enough sort of the smaller, what I call like filler type issues ready for front end if needed over the next period? I know there's like sus issues and other things, and I just don't know what like states of those. Like, should we try and like cram a few in to revisit to make sure some of them exist? Or do we think there's enough of the other like fixing borders and alignment issues that are already like in existence that we can cover off on those things? So just trying to get thoughts on those.
Um, yeah, the things that we're trying to wrap up, like before Pedro is more focused on create, and then I'll be mostly off next month. Like Pedro's doing the restructure, I need to finalize a few things for that research we finished up, and then I'm trying to go back to review rounds and find out what's next, how I can break it down into smaller versions. But I don't expect that to be touched while I'm gone. Basically, there's nothing to build yet, and we're not ready for that. But if is front end looking for, I was going to ask this, I didn't even bother writing it down yet, but like, is there a need for things that need to be like UX ready for front end? Because I can think of many smaller things and like I can get them into a state where they would be ready. Like the one that comes up right now would be like the file wrapping. It's already scheduled for this milestone. But then there's like edit pending comment, looks different than when you're actually posting a pending comment. So that could be something to work on. And then I've added a bunch of ideas to the beautifying UI for 15.11, which I could get into a better state. But I've never really gotten the sense that front end is looking for things to do. They seem to be pretty busy most of the time. So I wasn't sure how much to do.
That's a good question. We did like the prioritization session earlier this week, and there was like a couple issues that we brought that a few people brought that were like not UX ready. Like one of them was the file browser tree button thing. I think you know what I mean, but like like that one where we don't know like what the plan is on that one, and so it's a question of like, should we solve it or not? I don't think I don't think any of the ones that we saw there were huge priorities, and I don't know that we're hurting for work, but also, we're expecting 2.5-ish milestones is sort of like not necessarily having capacity if things come up. And so I want to make sure that there is like a few things of some. So like the ones that you mentioned, like about like in beautifying or in other places, like if there was like a handful of issues that were UX ready, or even if they were like not broken down, like there's follow-ups I know from like the MR design change, like the merge widget design changes that still need to be handled. Like there's a bunch of little things like that. I think if you have like a list of what those are that you think are UX ready and would like make sense, then like just having those around in our back pocket would make sense versus I don't know if investing in new issues or like getting some UX ready, unless you've got like some that are just burning to do, then like that would make sense. That's sort of, I think, my ask here is like, can we just make sure that there's, in the event front end runs out of things to do, which is not normal, but sometimes comes up that their capacity is really high, then just making sure we have those would be good.
Yeah, that sounds good. I can look at that. And yeah, the file tree one, that is those are the kinds of issues where it's like we don't have a design. It could go many ways, but if front end wants to just try something, great. Like that would be, doesn't anything is better than nothing, and anything would be a shortcut. And
Yeah.
it's been written a few times. But yeah, if front end just wants to just start going with no UX, that would be kind of cool.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I think if some of those come up, then maybe we will just try something, and we could always get reviews out of group too if we need to.
Yeah, and we also have like a pending merge request that's been open for a bit for the issue to. So we still have the sidebar changes behind a feature flag because we're still waiting on plan to implement a similar rearranging for a few of their components, but it's still not done. And that would be fantastic to get in. Forget it, actually, forget it, because it would get in now and then I'll be out and I need to open another feedback issue. So just forget I said all of that.
I can always open a feedback issue and hope people will get to it. As long as we leave a feature flag there, we can always turn it off. Because I don't think that feature flag's on for very much anyways, right? Like the new sidebar.
No, it's only on for maybe 3 projects. So we want to turn it on globally once the issues page has the small changes too.
Yeah. Okay.
But if it's a flood of feedback from external users, I wouldn't mind being present.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that's really just those feel like good things. And if you can figure out which ones are mostly UX ready and just make sure we have a bucket, then that's awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you. The other was a topic from like the vision stuff, but I saw, Ben, that you responded, and so I was just gonna pick your brain and see if you would, in your 5 minutes of thinking, like what your thoughts were about the CLI research. And one of the things that I've been trying to figure out is it feels like for GitLab it's not easy, but like we can go out to like various places and get feedback. This is such like a specialized tool that I'm sort of like wondering how we find. I think my biggest question is like, how do we find users? Like, what are some of the strategies we could like start thinking about now? Because I expect it'll take us a while to find maybe users to give us feedback. And so that way, if they've got longer lead times to do that, we can start working on like building a pipeline of people before we even know necessarily like what we want to ask them.
Yeah. The best way to do this is probably we've done similar things like for wiki and for pages, finding those users just through a survey, asking them if they use it, and asking them if they're willing to be interviewed or be contacted for further research. Can be a lengthy process to get enough users, but depending on what questions you really want to ask, we might not need that many to start out with. If you're just thinking about a couple of interviews, sort of depends a little bit on what questions we want to ask, but couldn't hurt to just get the ball rolling there.
Okay. Yeah, that could make sense to do a survey. I was worried that it might be hard to find the channel to even like distribute a survey given the small number of like users in general.
I mean, how small are we talking? Do we know, or do we have to make this confidential if we say that?
I will. Yes, we know.
Okay, it doesn't actually matter that much right now, but it will make things more challenging unless we can find a way to, yeah. We could also like open an issue if there's something like a good forum for that, where users of the CLI will be paying attention and try to recruit that way.
Could we run something in the output?
I had the same question. Amy, I was I know Homebrew lets people output stuff after things are installed. I don't know how much control you get over that. Like, I know you can say like projects are seeking sponsorship, but I don't know if you could put like a blanket message that links to some URL in it.
Let me dig.
But I had thought about that too. Like, I wonder if we could catch them on an upgrade to be like interested in providing more feedback and like have a link to like a form and like sort of evergreen, have a list of people who would like always want to do something. I just don't know if we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's I've done these kinds of that kind of thing before. We called it customer councils at a previous job, but that sort of looks different because the ask is different. That's less of a survey kind of ask and more of a, yeah, we need to like kind of vet that these people are the people that we want.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't I guess maybe it would make sense to start with sort of like, what do we want to know from them? I think one of the things I want to know is which I talk is like, I'm really curious on the split of users between like interactive and like non-interactive use, like how many people are using it for scripting and how many people are interacting with it, because I think that changes potentially like what we would want to build. Like if there's lots of interactive users, then there's a proposal for like someone who wants like a terminal user interface, which I don't think we would ever do. It's sort of wild and crazy. But like, would we want to explore like some form of like code review commenting, or like would we want to get more into like these like detailed workflows if people are like actually interacting with it? Whereas if people are doing like all non-interactive commands where they're just like literally scripting things in CI jobs or in external scripts or other tools, then like that sort of changes how you like what you would build, right? Like you don't want prompts. We would change maybe some default behavior around prompting. We would change like other probably wouldn't approach like big features because you wouldn't automate things that would then require user input. And so I think that's sort of like the initial one that I want to know, like where that split is. But then like it'd be worth following up with all those people. I think Amy's talked about like docs would be nice to sort of build out like what are people doing with it. It could be cool to have like some of those people like give us really specific things to like build some docs that are actually useful for people. So I want to start there. I just don't like, I don't think like a one survey question of like, do you use this interactively or like scripted is like helpful in any way, shape, or form. And so like thinking through that more would probably help. But yeah, I think like figuring out the audience is going to be the tough part too, because we don't want to bias like, if people are using it automated all the time, they may never see like an upgrade message that says like sign up here to give us feedback, because they're never actually seeing those things. They're just pulling a Docker container or something like that.
Yeah. One other thing we could try is if we can get a blog post out there, you know, sort of like, hey, we're all, you know, hoping you enjoyed the release of the CLI a while back. We want to know how it's going for you if you're interested on providing feedback or becoming part of a, you know, ongoing whatever we want to call it. Get in touch.
That's a good strategy too. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I will open at some point in the near future like a research issue, and we can start thinking about it. I don't think there's any like pressure to start doing anything. There's a lot of still cleanup and automation and things that need to happen in the CLI before we begin doing new things. But yeah, I will. This gives me some things to think about. Cool. Well, anyone have anything else? Amy?
Still cleaning up. You need me, tap me on the shoulder.
Got it.
I aspire to get out of the 99 Plus Club. Someday.
Good luck.
Hmm.
At some point, bankruptcy is okay. They'll come back if it's important enough.
Say that to Annabelle because she's one of the people who made me do it.
I told Gary to mark all as done except filter for not from FICAI, and then that way he could, like, you know, he'd keep mine, but everybody else's would get marked as done. So you could do the same thing with Annabelle if you need to preserve that one.
You can do that? You can filter and then mark the rest as done?
I
That's
actually know.
amazing.
I know you can filter the list, right? Yeah, you could filter the author. So I could filter. Yeah, I can filter by you and then mark all as done, but there's no not filter. So you'd have to sort of like go the other way.
Feature request. Okay.
Yeah. We'll get Phil back on his redesigning of the to-do page and then add a not filter.
Yeah. Amy, if I don't think I can't think I'm waiting for anything, so I will message you if it's urgent, but I think I ping you a lot and then I forget about it right away. So it can't be that important. I'm usually just like, hey, is this good?
Okay. Good. I'll get there.
Awesome. Well, it's good to see everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week and we'll chat again soon. Bye.
Bye.